Hello, everyone. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 2 of Live Learning at Home. And today we're going to be doing space programming with Scratch. My name is Chen Hao Sun. I'm an engineering outreach program instructor. And some things that I like to do in my free time are figure skating, playing the piano, and reading. Before we begin, I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. And I want everyone to think about nature and why it's important that we protect nature from pollution. When it comes to protecting nature from pollution, Indigenous perspectives are very important because they understand that nature is a very interconnected system, which means that everything in the ecosystems relies on one another to survive. For instance, let's take a look at water. Water serves as nature's life supply. It feeds our plants, animals, and even us. And then we feed off those same plants and animals that feed off that same water. And it's a cycle that Indigenous peoples know that we must maintain. Because if this water is polluted, then it affects everything down the line. Including Indigenous perspectives when it comes to protecting nature is really important as they understand nature the best. They understand that when you pollute or affect one portion of the cycle, you affect it all for generations to come. But Indigenous peoples aren't one big group. There are various groups living all throughout Canada. And Ontario is home to many groups of Indigenous peoples. So let's talk about what a treaty is. A treaty is an agreement between the Indigenous peoples of this land and the settlers, and it was created to maintain rights between both parties and to ensure that both can live on the treaty land together. Here where we live in the GTA, where it's home to the Williams Treaties, and it's the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island and the Chippewas of Georgina Island. One important concept that we want to talk about today is Etawaptamuk, which refers to two-eyed seeing. And what this means is that we want to acknowledge both the perspectives of the Indigenous peoples of the land we reside on, as well as Western perspectives. And it's with these two perspectives and by seeing things through these two different perspectives that we can learn to acknowledge different ways of knowing and benefit everyone. What our learning outcomes today are to learn some basic coding fundamentals and to create a fun space game. The materials you'll be needing is your computer and a Scratch account. To make a Scratch account, you can just search up Scratch and join. It's very easy. So let's talk about what STEM is. STEM refers to science. The S in STEM refers to science, which is understanding the world around us through experiments. The T stands for technology, which is the tools and machines that help us solve problems. Engineering is solving real world issues by designing and building models. And M is for mathematics, which is using numbers, shapes, and patterns to understand the world. So let's talk about what engineering is. Engineers invent, design, build, test, and analyze machines and systems and structures to solve problems. And they do this while considering cost, safety, and practicality. And engineers help society by developing things that we use in our daily lives. There are many different types of engineering, such as mechanical, aerospace, mechatronics, civil, biomedical, chemical, electrical, and the one that we're mainly focusing on today with coding, which is software engineering. So first, let's learn about code. So what is coding? Coding is the idea of writing instructions that are understandable to a computer, which tells them to do different tasks. Sort of like if you're reading a recipe for baking a cake. You read the recipe to figure out how to make this cake. And when we write these instructions to a computer, to make it so that the computer understands, we have to write in programming languages. And there are many different kinds of programming languages. Kind of imagine a programming language sort of like a translator between humans and computers. Code is very important as it's everywhere in our society. It's in apps such as maybe Plants vs. Zombies, Instagram. It's in websites. It's in your microwave to determine sort of, so you can choose how long you want to cook something for. It's in your cell phones or any other mobile devices you have, like tablets and computers. It's in traffic lights, so that traffic lights know when to turn red and green. And it's also in calculators. So software engineers are designing all of these different things that we see every day and use every day. So let's talk about what Scratch is. We talked about programming languages before, and Scratch is one programming language. It's block-based, which means that the code comes in sort of blocks rather than text. And it's also a high-level programming language, which means that it's more human-oriented. So imagine programming languages on a spectrum, with one side being more understandable to humans and the other side being more understandable to machines. High-level means that the language is easier for humans to understand. And it has a very simple visual interface that makes it really easy for beginners, as it can allow them to grasp coding concepts. So let's learn about some of these coding concepts. The first one is variables. And variables are a labeled storage location for information that allows the program to use and modify it. Imagine variables sort of like a big filing system and with a bunch of folders, and these folders all have different names. For example, in this filing system, you have a folder called color, and inside this folder is the color blue. So that when you go look for color, you find this folder, you open it up, and you see the color blue. And that's sort of what variables are and what computers do with it. And next, let's talk about conditional statements. Conditional statements, or they're also called if or if-else statements, they tell a computer to only carry out the code inside the if-else statement if that condition is met. An example would be, in real life, would be something like the instruction, if you're hungry, eat. Next, let's talk about loops. Loops are basically when you tell the computer to repeat whatever's code is inside the loop. And most loops you see will be conditional, which means that the computer will exit the loop when a certain condition is met. So for a loop that doesn't exit, it would be something like repeat push-ups. For a conditional one, it would be repeat push-ups until tired. So you will keep repeating these push-ups until you're tired, in which it will exit the loop. So when engineers approach problems, they go through the engineering design process. And there are 5 steps to the engineering design process: identify the problem, brainstorm ideas, design a solution, make a model, and test and evaluate. And the cool thing about the engineering design process is that it allows you to progress through things linearly. And if something doesn't work out, you can always go back to the beginning and try it again. For example, you identified a problem, you brainstorm ideas, you move on to design a solution, you make a model, and it turns out that model doesn't work. That's okay. You can go right back to brainstorm ideas and keep going. So the problem we're addressing today is you are a software engineer tasked to use Scratch to create the hottest new space game. And to brainstorm ideas, well, we have to think about how we're going to control some rockets in this. How we're going to control the rocket, how we're going to detect contact, for example, maybe the rocket touching something, how we're going to generate the stars, and maybe a point system, or how we want the space game to look. The space game that we'll be creating the space game that we'll be creating today will look something like this. And there'll be stars falling. You'll be able to move this rocket left and right. And when you collect stars, you get points. When you hit the rocks, you will lose points. And different stars will do different things. So the third step is design a solution. So you want to sort of plan out how you're going to execute all the different parts of the game. How are you going to go about coding all the different parts of the game with what we learned today? Now let's make a model. Let's start coding. So I'm sort of going to run through how we're going to create this game, and you guys can try adding in some of your own ideas when you're done. So just follow along. So the first thing we're going to make is going to be the rocket ship. So I'm just going to go down here, choose a sprite, and I'm going to search up rocket. And now we have a nice rocket ship. So I'm going to, first of all, this rocket ship's a bit big. So I'm just going to change the size, maybe to 50. And then let's put it right at the very bottom. There we go. So we want this rocket ship to move left and right when we press the arrow keys. So I'm going to use this event here. When left arrow is pressed, we want it to move to the left. So I'm going to change X here, which is changes where it is horizontally. And I'm actually going to create a variable here called speed. So now imagine a folder in this library called speed, and inside it stores a number which tells us what speed the rocket will move at. And I'm just going to change by speed. And we'll have to set a value to speed, but we'll do that later. And change. Wait, this one should go here, because when it goes right, we want it to move positively. And to make the rocket ship go to the left, we want it so that speed is negative. And we're going to do this by making it 0 minus speed. This way, when you press the left arrow, it will move in the negative or left direction. And we can test this right now, see if it works. Oh wait, we have to set a value to speed. So we're going to choose this. So when the green flag is clicked, this is the green flag over here, we're going to set speed to 5. This way, when you press the left arrow, it'll move -5 or to the left. And when you press the right arrow, it'll move +5 to the right. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's start making the falling stars. To do this, we're going to get a new sprite. We're going to get some stars. And let's also make these ones a bit smaller. And there we go. Now for these stars, what I'm going to do is when I want it so that when we start the program, these stars are going to start falling. And I want to be able to have multiple stars on the screen at a time. So the way I'm going to do this is that I'm going to create clones of this original star. So I'm going to use this create clone. And I want to loop it, so that I want to put a loop here so that the star will continue cloning itself, because we don't want it to just make 2 stars and then have all the stars disappear. We want the program to continually make more and more stars. And we also want the stars to go to a different place, to be in random positions on the screen. So I'm going to do that by choosing go to random position, and we want to move them to the top of the screen. So I'm going to set Y to a nice big number that it goes to the top. There you go. And if you see, if we run it, it creates a bunch of stars, but it's creating stars way too quickly. So what we want to do is we want to put wait 1 second in here so that the stars come a bit slower. And we're also going to hide the original star that we're cloning. Now I have to choose what the clones will do. So this is for the clones of the original star, and we want them to fall. So the first thing is they're going to show, they're going to become visible. And then we're using another loop here. We're going to repeat falling, because we want the star to keep falling until it hits the bottom of the screen. So to do that, we'll use this right here. And we want to track the Y position, or the vertical, where the star is vertically on the screen. So to find out how close it is to touching the bottom of the screen, because we don't want it we want it to disappear when it touches the bottom. So we'll have it so that if this, and to make it fall, we want it to change the Y by, you can put any number here depending on how fast you want it to fall. But I'm changing it by -5, so it'll fall down by 5 pixels. And what this is saying here is that it will keep repeating the change Y, or go down by 5, until the Y position, while the Y position is less than -180, which is the bottom of the screen here. And once it does reach the bottom, we want to delete this clone as to not crowd things. So if we try this out, you see how it will fall, and then when it touches the bottom, it deletes itself and disappears. Now, obviously, we want to be able to have a score system here. So we're going to go make a new variable. We're going to call this one score. And we want this one to show, so we're going to check mark it so you can see what the score is. And on the star here, we're going to put a conditional statement that allows you to change the score, because you want to gain a point when the rocket ship touches the star. So if rocket ship touches star, then we want to change score by 1. You can see there's a problem here, and it's that the star will touch the rocket ship multiple times. So we also want the star to disappear once it touches the rocket ship. And we're going to do that with the same thing we did last time, delete itself. So now if we try here, we'll see that touch it, the star will disappear, and it'll only gain 1 point. You see how there's another problem here, which is that the score will just keep going. You keep replaying, you start at 30. So we want to also set we want to set the initial conditions for the game. So initial conditions here, we have speed as 5. We want to set score as 0. So now when we start it, every time we reset, score will reset back to 0. So this is the sort of main gist of the game. But there's a bunch of things you can add to it to make it a lot more fun, because right now it's sort of boring. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add a nice background. So it's falling, so the rocket ship's flying through space. And I'm going to add some different varieties of things that the rocket ship can collect. So first thing I think I want to do is to make another star. But this star will do different things from the first star. The star is going to make it so that when the rocket ship touches it, it'll go a lot faster. The rocket ship will gain a speed boost. There we go. And let's change the color here to blue so we know it's a different star. And to that, you can just go to costumes here, change, and then change it to blue. There we go. And since most of the code here is going to be the same, we can really just duplicate and put it here. Oh. Copy paste. There we go. And I'm also going to copy paste this one as well. Control C, Control V. But I want to make this star a bit different. Because this star is more rare, you want it to show up a bit less often. And the way we're going to do that is to use a random number generator. So it's going to wait 1 second, and we're going to put a conditional statement here. We're going to put an if-else statement. If, and what we're going to say here is we're going to have it choose a random number. Five equals. So what this does here is if the computer will wait a second, and then it's going to choose a random number. You see, pick random from 1 to 5. And if that number equals 1, then only then will it make a clone of itself and have the whole falling star happening. This way, we'll see that the blue star shows up less often than the yellow stars. And we also want to be able to have the blue star give you a speed boost. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to go to events here. I want to broadcast a message. So broadcasting a message will sort of just tell all the other sprites in this program that something happened. Tell them to do something. So I'm going to call this one speed boost. So when the rocket ship collects its blue star, it's going to change score, and it's going to broadcast the message speed boost. And then we can go back to rocket ship and tell it what to do when it receives speed boost. Whenever it receives speed boost, we want to increase its speed. And it's good that we have a variable called speed. So we have it as 5 originally. For its speed boost, let's increase it to 10. And we want to wait a few seconds before setting it back to 5 again. So let's do a 10-second speed boost. And then we set speed back to 5. So what should happen here is if you collect some stars, like this blue star, you'll go a lot faster, possibly. Oh, never mind. There we go. I didn't have the right variable there. I missed it. There you go. And you see how the rocket ship starts going a lot faster? That's because it received the message speed boost and it goes here and does the code in this block here. And to make things a bit more interesting, I'm going to give it a different look compared to when it's not speed boosted. That's really obvious that your rocket ship has a speed boost here. So normally there's going to be no fire. And I just used the switch costume because if you go to the rocket ship here, you'll see how it comes with a bunch of different costumes. You can use here to switch which one it is. So when the game starts without the speed boost, it'll be rocket ship E here. And when it has a speed boost, it'll have the flames, and we'll switch it to rocket ship A. And that's actually make it a bit harder. And we can even add some other things like rocks or other different types of stars. This is all really up to you. I'm just showing you some things that you can do, but you can do a bunch of different things with this. So now I think I'm gonna add a rock so that this way you can also lose some points to make it a bit harder. And we're also just gonna make this rock smaller, have it at 50, move it all the way to the very top. And the good thing about this is that you can copy paste a lot of the code you have before to make everything nice, to make everything a lot quicker. Because a lot of the motions, a lot of the things that these objects need to do is the same. This rock also wants to randomly generate, and it also wants to fall. So we can use a lot of the same code for it. So same thing here. It'll loop, the program continues to loop, and while it loops, it'll wait 1 second and then to start falling. And we're gonna have these ones come a bit more often. So by switching from 1 to 5 to 1 to 3, now every second there's a 1 in 3 chance of it appearing instead of 1 in 5. So it'll show up a bit more often than the blue star. And then when it starts to clone, it'll keep falling. And here, to make it so that you lose points, we'll change the score to maybe -3. So you lose 3 points every time you hit a rock. And I'm going to have it so that when the rocket ship touches the rock, if it already has a speed boost effect, then that speed boost effect is canceled. And we can do this by making a new message. Here I'm going to broadcast new message. I'm going to call this one hit rock. Now we have this here. And we want to clone. This is what's going to happen here. The rock will keep on falling as long as its Y position is in the bottom of the screen. And when it reaches the bottom of the screen, it'll exit this repeat until loop, come here, and delete itself. Same thing if it's touching the rocket ship. It will complete these actions, and then it will, wait, this should be here, delete itself. There we go. So that if touching the rocket ship, it'll change the score, broadcast its message, and then delete itself. And then we want it so that when it receives hit rock, it will change everything back to what it was before. So back to this costume, the one without the flames at the bottom. And it will change its speed back to 5. So if you imagine that library of folders again, with that folder called speed, you can imagine the computer searching through these folders, finding the one called speed, and changing the information inside this folder so that it says 5 instead of 10. And that's why variables are really important for coding, because it allows the computer to keep track of information and change it and use it. So now, let's see. There seems to be a lot of stars generated. One important thing to do when you're coding is to make sure you're constantly testing your code, and that part and the parts, every new part that you code, you should test it to make sure that's working or possibly not working. Because what's going to happen is that if you don't test it until the very end, you're going to have a ton of issues that's wrong with it, and you have no idea what's causing what. So, wait once. See if we can. Maybe we can have it so it waits 2 seconds. And that's a bit better. A little bit better. There we go. And then, so let's test this original part where if you have a speed boost on you and then you hit the rock, the speed boost will, oh no, the rocks don't disappear. Why is that? So, okay, I believe it's because the numbers here aren't quite right. Let's go see. For the rocks, if you see the Y here, the bottom of the screen for it registers as 190, I think. So we might have to change this to a different, there, we might have to change it to 190. Let's see if that helps. Oh, let's see if we, I position this then. Make it something maybe a bit smaller. There we go. There we go. Now that works. So those now will disappear. And let's see if we lose. Let's see if we lose points if we hit a rock. Have a speed boost on now. We hit the rock, we lose some points, and you see the speed boost disappears. Or does it? Or does it? Or does it? Okay, let's see. Broadcast it. Broadcast it off, and then when I receive, set speed 5. This again. We're moving very slow. I'm moving fast. Oh yeah. And now we're moving slow. Okay, this is good. Now I'm gonna add even more things. I think it'd be cool if we had a star that was magnetic. So it would pull all the other stars on the screen on over here. And so we're just gonna add another star. And we're gonna make this one a different color. Let's see if we can costumes. And I think I'm going to make this one red. There we go. That's really pretty. And again, a lot of the code here will be very similar because all the objects here sort of follow the same, they all do the same things, so a lot of the code is very similar. Let's use, oh, I didn't mean to do that. And the reason we're using clones here is so that you can have multiple stars at a time, and they will and we want them to delete themselves afterwards because if there's too many stars on the screen, it might lag and it's going to cause a lot of issues. So we have this loop forever. It's going to complete all these actions in here. And we have this like this. So this should work about the same as everything else. And here we're going to have to broadcast a new message. This one we're going to call magnet. And remember, if you have any ideas that you want to try, feel free to do so. You see how all these different stars that do different things. If you have an idea for a star that you want to do something, have a special ability, or you want to add anything to this game, maybe change some backgrounds, have some fun. Because the important part is making this game for you and making something that trying some of your own ideas out. So here, I'm going to broadcast. And there we go. Broadcast magnet. And for this broadcast magnet, we want all the stars on the screen to come towards the rocket ship. So the sprites that we want to receive the message will be the stars. So we'll have to add code to all the stars to tell it to go to the rocket ship when it receives this message. So when I receive magnet, it's going to move. It's going to glide to the rocket ship. And we're going to do the same thing here. When I receive magnet, motion, glide to rocket ship. I did that one. And we need one more for the magnet star itself. Receive magnet, glide to this one. Rocket ship. And let's see if this will work. Oh, let's adjust the rate for the magnet star because it's coming quite quickly. So we're going to do the same thing we did with the speed star here, where we have it at a random. And same thing with the rock here, where we set a random counter when have an if statement. Remember, if statements, when you have an if statement, the computer will go through the code here, and it'll check the if, and only when that condition is true will it go ahead and read the code in here and complete those actions. Oh, not this. And I want these ones to be pretty rare. So I'm going to have it 1 to 10. But this way, let me clean this up a bit. There we go. This way, it'll wait, the program will wait 1 second, generate a random number, and if the random number from 1 to 10 isn't 1, because this is a loop, it'll go back to the beginning, to the forever here, and do it again. And it'll keep doing that until it ends. I'll just keep looping this forever and ever, and we're only going to get a new star if the random from 1 to 10 equals 1. Only then will it read all this code here and create that new star. So let's give it a try. Selecting these stars here. And you see how the stars come to me. And what we can also do, because we made speed a variable, it makes it really easy for it to change. And you see here, I think I'm going to make the magnet star fall a bit faster so that it's a bit harder for you to get, because we want to create sort of varying difficulties in this game and make it so that the stars that give you benefits are more difficult to obtain, so it feels more like a reward. If we try here, I can get one to pop up. Because of the random number generator, one should pop up around every 10 seconds. But it seems to be being a bit silly. Oh my god, I missed. Okay, there we go. And boom. So this seems to be working pretty well. And there we go. So some other things that could be cool to add, there's also an option for sound. So I think it'd be nice if it played a sound every time you collected something, just to make it a bit more interactive. Here's some sounds. Collect. Let's listen to what collect sounds like. Ooh, that sounds pretty good. So where do I have it here? There you go. So we want to play the sound only if the rocket ship has collected the star. So we want to put it inside this if statement here, so that in normal circumstances, this sound will not play, and it's only if the rocket ship is touching the star that these actions here will occur. So we can try it, this one as well. Let's see if I can find. There we go, right in here, because we want it to be inside the if statement so that it operates if this condition is true. We want this to be inside of the if. So it's in here. And let's see if this works. Ooh, it's a bit slower now though. Let's move it. There we go. There we go. Now it makes a fun sound. Now, what I'm going to do, I want to have something maybe to change the background, because we have all these fun space backgrounds here. This one seems quite fun. So let's see if we go back to version 1. I believe. Oh, I don't know if it's a new X factor. There. So we're gonna go to stage. Put this in the wrong place. Add some backdrops here. And I'm gonna create a new sprite for this. Maybe a planet. I'm thinking we'll also have a little falling planet. Where, oh, let's take right there. I'm gonna copy this code here. And this one, let's make it ultra rare. So maybe every 20 seconds? We'll see how this looks. And let's take this one as well. So you see now it starts falling. And this time, let's get rid of the sound effect. Maybe, oh, let's make this one fall nice and fast. Try speed. Ooh, that's pretty speedy. And then we'll make it so that it will switch to regular. So what should hopefully happen here, oh, we hit a rock. Oh no. Okay, let's make this fall a bit slow just so we can test it out. And also, I feel like, we'll see. So there! So if we touch it, it'll switch the backdrop. And actually we want it to switch between the two. So let's have it do, instead of having switch back to nebula, we'll have it switch to we'll have it switch to next. There we go. And why is this? There we go. So hopefully here, before we do that, I think there may be an issue with the rocket. It seems to be moving. There we go. There. It seems to still be moving quite fast, even when it shouldn't be. So I think what I'm gonna try here is, if it's moving fast, that means it didn't. If it's moving fast, even after it hits the rock, and what I think it means is that the speed doesn't change back to 5. So let's find out where we change the speed and see if we can investigate the issue. It could be these two running simultaneously, and then it does this and also this at the same time. Let's see. Now it switches kind of. let's delete this one. We don't want that one. Delete this one. Oop. There we go. Let's see if we can diagnose the issue here. Where is my rocket ship? I'm not sure. Oh, I think it's because it changes speed by 5, and I want it to be so it makes it 15 instead of setting it back to 5. That's what the issue was. Okay. There we go. And I kind of don't like how when you touch it, it doesn't disappear immediately, and that's because the program needs some time to play a sound. But we can't just delete it, put the delete here, because then it won't be able to complete the rest of this code, because this code only executes when there's a clone. So if it deletes itself, it can't complete the rest of this. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to change its visibility so that it'll hide itself. There we go. And if we test this here, let's clean this up. If we test this here, you can see how now when we touch it, it disappears immediately. And if we touch these planets, it'll change the background. See if I can find it. See if another planet will show up. Change. Oh. I don't think it will. There we go. And it'll change the backdrop. What would be neat is if we had different planets for different backdrops. So I might see. Okay, I'll probably do that. So I'm going to switch this. This one can be for. So if this planet can be for the. I think this one's a little bit faster. If we do that now, this one can be for nebula. A bit rarer. Oh, actually, this can make it. And this. Let's make this a bit rarer. We can have a different planet here. And let's see. We can have Earth. There we go. And I'm just going to copy paste this code here for our Earth. Go. And we can choose. I wonder if there's a good backdrop for Earth. Could be fun. Actually, we'll keep it. Let's make it. Let's change Earth so it's no longer Earth. 15. That looks good. And then we can have it so that this one will switch to. See how we have them switching backdrops here? This one will switch to nebula. And we'll have this one switch to the first one, the galaxy backdrop. And remember, we had to set the initial conditions. So let's start. And backdrop 2. I want to start them off here. And because they switch from one to the other, we might have, okay. I'm going to put another if, so that only happens if this isn't, if it isn't the current backdrop they're in. So we'll put another if here. If backdrop number next time. Okay. Since we don't have much time left, I think I'll save this for another day. But what should happen is we have 2 of them falling down. And, oh no, I don't want to make that one a time. I'm gonna put that. I'm just waiting on the Earth to fall, so we can see if, okay. Since we're almost out of time, I would like to thank everyone for tuning along. And the last step is test and evaluate. And we were kind of doing this while we were building the code, but you want to see what's working. So that you want to take your model, your code, see what's working, what's not working. If you have any new ideas or better ideas to do something, you could change to that. You can change and try that out. And just make some fixes to see what's working and what's not. If you want to learn more about our upcoming programs, you can visit us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and you can send us pictures of your designs to engineeringoutreach@ontariotechu.ca. Thank you very much for listening.